try and look at something.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the C Show. I'm Chris, your host. I've got George here with me again tonight, and we are going to talk about the JonBenét Ramsey case. How are you, George?
I'm great. I've got a little bit of a croaky throat this morning, so I might cough a little bit, but I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm feeling good.
Okay. Good deal. So, George, do you think the Ramseys killed their daughter?
I do not. No, absolutely not.
Why do you think? Who do you think killed them?
I think Edward Wayne Edwards did it.
The same person killed. Wait a second. The same person that killed Lacey Peterson.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do we have a serial killer killing people in Colorado and California?
Well, he killed people all over the states.
So he's just going around the. So he's just going around the states killing people.
He was traveling to do murders, but in fact, I believe at the time he killed JonBenét Ramsey, I believe he was living only half an hour's drive away. That's
okay,
quite.
But I just want to make sure he was traveling around the country to kill people.
He was, yeah. He would fly across the country to do a murder. Margaret, who met him, she was forced to make the Zodiac Pines card in 1971, and he then flew back home to Ohio to do a newspaper interview in which he accused someone else of being the Zodiac killer. So he could travel, he could fly a plane as well. So
he just randomly picked people to do this. He randomly just picked people out of a phone book, or
I don't know how he picked people. In the JonBenét Ramsey case, I believe it was related to John's business.
How so?
Yeah, he had a business, didn't he? Mm-hmm. He had a business called what was it called? It was a computer graphics sort of business, wasn't it? And it got a pretty substantial business, I believe. He was a pretty successful businessman.
Yes, he was very well off.
And I believe that actually Edwards had a relative who was like in a competing business, or there was something going on there. But I think that's a potential motive in this case. That's not proven, but I believe in this case that may have been a motive. I think we discussed in Lacey Peterson how Scott's business might have been a motive.
So what? So he is going to kill JonBenét over his cousin's business.
Father's business.
But it's his cousin, right?
John Ramsey was the father.
Right, but I'm talking about, you said the guy had a cousin that had a competing business.
Edwards had a son.
A son, okay. So that's his motive was to kill JonBenét over his son's.
I believe there's a connection there. I can't actually exactly substantiate that, but I've heard before there's a connection with one of Edwards' children. I believe there was a business motive in there. Because John Ramsey was president of Access Graphics, computer software company. Mm-hmm. And I'm reading it later became a subsidiary of Lockheed Martin. So it was a substantial and successful business, as my understanding.
Yes, he was very well off.
And I believe there was some kind of motive in there that to interfere with that business, to like cripple it, or make it a less successful competitor. So
wouldn't you go about it a different way, though?
That's just an interesting connection, a possibility, I would say, that I've heard about. I mean, the reason that's not the reason I think it was Edwards, but that it's a potential motive, I believe.
Okay. So let's just jump right into it. The night of the Christmas party, they come home. What happens then?
Yeah, they come home.
You still with me, George?
You hearing me okay?
Now I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. So they came home.
Yeah, I mean, you tell me, because maybe you know the case those sort of details better than me. But as far as I know, they came home, they all went to bed, and then in the morning, they found this ransom note, didn't they?
Yes, I can't remember the exact time they found it. Off the top of my head, but yeah, they found it like
she realised that that JonBenét was
3:30 or
missing,
so.
and they found that this ransom note on the kitchen staircase is what I'm reading.
Yes, it was on the staircase.
And obviously, that ransom note is a huge piece of evidence in this case.
Oh yes, it is a huge piece of evidence. It was written on her stationery.
Who wrote that ransom note is a huge question, isn't it?
I think they kind of figured out who they wrote the ransom note. It was written in block letters. It was written on her stationery. It was written with her pen. There was some telltale things in there that gave away. She used the person who wrote it used the phrase, "John, use your good Southern sense." And they asked for the exact penny down to the nickel of his Christmas bonus of $180,000. Here's a man who's worth millions. They only asked for $180,000.
Yeah, that amount was a clue, wasn't it? It was a really interesting ransom note.
Yeah. So
it wasn't written by Patsy.
Certified
handwriting experts said it wasn't written by Patsy.
That's not what they said. They said they could not exclude her.
A federal court ruled it highly unlikely that Patsy wrote the note.
But the handwriting experts did say they could not totally exclude her as the source of the person who wrote it.
Yeah, I mean, I've also looked into that in some detail, and when you look at it in detail, there was all sorts of differences with her writing, especially how she dotted her I's.
But this was in block letters, though. It wasn't like, cursive.
Yeah, they got her to do a sample, didn't they?
Okay. So the 180
block letters, but I'm sure that wasn't written by Patsy. I mean, that's an important part of the case. I mean, obviously, if it was
I agree, it's just important. So $180,000, his ransom.
I'm sure the killer intended that people would suspect it was written by Patsy. I think it was a forgery in the sense that it was definitely intended that police would suspect it was written by Patsy. I think that was totally deliberate. It was a setup.
Okay.
I mean, the most interesting, how's it signed? Victory, SBTC. What do you think that stood for?
The SBT was, they called themselves some kind of foreign faction, or, I can't remember what that was off the top of my head.
Well, I'll tell you what I think that stands for. I think that stands for Signed by the Cross.
Signed by the Cross.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, Edward signed everything with a cross, Zodiac killer symbol.
Okay.
So that's a little clue in there. Also, if you look at just the general language in there, there's a lot about the Zodiac killer in there.
That good Southern accent, though, is more of a... That John, use your good Southern common sense. That's not a Zodiac thing.
No, but some of the rest of it is. Let me give you examples on what was. Hold on. I need to go back and get a link because otherwise I'm going to.
Yeah, because I don't know much about the.
I need to get back to my little file on the case. I'm just coming back to it here. That's one of them. I've closed I meant to keep it up. Now listen very carefully. If we catch talking to a stray dog, she dies.
Okay.
That's Dirty Harry. I know people have analysed it. But the other thing is, they discovered pineapple, didn't they?
That was my next question. Okay, go ahead. Tell me.
I mean, that's another way I believe Edwards was setting this up. So the parents said JonBenet didn't eat pineapple. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they were obviously questioned.
Right.
And then they discover pineapple in JonBenet's stomach.
Uh-huh.
So what does that tell you? Either the
What
parents
that tells me is that JonBenet went downstairs at some time during the night after she was supposedly put to bed. Now, if you know the layout of the Ramseys house, the Ramseys' bedrooms was on the second floor. Her bedroom and Burke's was on the third floor. So whoever got JonBenet to come downstairs, she had to trust them. Walk past Burke's bedroom and walk past her parents' bedroom without waking them up. Now, who would she trust to go downstairs in the middle of the night to get pineapple?
I think it was Edwards, because he was the absolute world's best con man. I think he was probably posing as a Father Christmas figure. And in fact, you know, there was a local Father Christmas who was named as a suspect.
Bill McReynolds was his name.
I'm sure it wasn't Reynolds, but
Bill McReynolds.
I think Edwards intended that he would be a suspect. So he posed as Father Christmas.
Well, that would have to be, to make him as a suspect, he would have to know that Bill McReynolds was going to tell her that Santa's going to pay you a special visit the night after Christmas, and that Bill McReynolds' wife had wrote a play in the 1970s about a childhood beauty queen who was murdered in the same way that JonBenet Ramsey was. That's more of a coincidence, isn't it?
It's not a coincidence. Edwards would have been stalking this like mad. He would probably have had bugs in that house. He would have been recording everything. He would have been following absolutely. He would have known absolutely everything about all the people in this case, inside out, including John Ramsey.
So he bugged the McReynolds house and the Ramsey's house.
Well, the Ramsey's house for sure.
But he bugged the McReynolds house.
Possibly, he would have been researching everyone.
So he bugged all of their houses. I mean,
he would know if he would know somehow or other. He just had an incredible intelligence network, so he would know everything. In a lot of cases, he said, "I'm always listening," and he was.
Back to JonBenet. How does he convinces a 6-year-old girl he's that charming that did not make a sound and walk past Burke's bedroom?
He would have probably used a flashlight. He would have probably, been disguised as Santa. Maybe dressed up as Santa. It would have been semi-dark.
She just saying Santa.
Semi-dark. He says, JonBenet, I've got this present for you down in the kitchen. Come down to the kitchen. I don't know. You've got to use your imagination a bit, haven't you?
She had just seen Santa though. With the McReynolds house, McReynolds was dressed as Santa.
I forget when she saw the Santa.
That night.
That night. Okay, well, Edwards comes back and says, "Look, I've got a present for you, or an extra present for you."
So he gets okay. He got an extra.
Okay. Like you say, someone lured her down to the kitchen somehow. Okay, maybe she just came down. I suppose she could just come down of her own accord. Who knows? But
possibly. Okay, so from the point that she gets the pineapple, what happens next?
Well, you can't really tell for sure, but obviously maybe she was strangled in the kitchen and taken down to the basement. Maybe she was taken down to the basement and
how did she get the head injury?
Probably she was knocked unconscious before he took her down to the basement, I would say. But who knows? We don't really know.
I just want to make sure I'm following. So he knocked her out, took her down to the basement, and then strangled her.
I would say that's a possibility. I don't know enough details about the crime scene to be very specific on how it happened. Yeah.
Okay.
But what we do know is that a garrote was used, and that was very characteristic of Edwards.
That was also used with Patsy Ramsey's her paintbrush and twine.
Margaret I've been talking about all this time.
Who?
In 1971, Edwards tried to kill her using a rope by strangling her progressively, like a garrote. Mm-hmm. She experienced that. And it was only when John intervened to stop it that she wasn't killed.
But this is 25 years later.
Yeah, but Edwards, his last murder he did just before he was arrested. He killed an entire family using a garrote.
So
pretty characteristic of how he killed people.
So he gets
killing slowly because he was a sociopath, a psychopath, a sadistic psychopath.
So he knocks her out and then takes her downstairs and strangles her slowly till she dies. At what point did the sexual assault take place?
Probably probably as he was strangling her. God knows.
So he's strangling her with a garrote and sexually assaulting her at the same time?
Possibly.
She
would be helpless. I mean, he would be reducing her oxygen, I guess.
But,
I don't know. I don't think we can tell anything about that for certain, can we? But you can have a picture of what was going on. You know, there was a sexual aspect to it, I believe, and I believe I just read in Wikipedia that they think there was an attempt to remove the DNA.
Yes. What does the Wikipedia say about the shirt fibers from John Ramsey's shirt?
I heard that yesterday on that video you put up. I don't really know about that. I don't really know about that. Obviously, it's a family member, so you can have contamination. Maybe it was when she was put to bed, whatever. I wouldn't put much. You know, you find DNA from an occupant of the house. It doesn't have very much significance for me. Or sorry, if you find forensic evidence, you found some fibers from a member of the house. What does that mean? Not very much.
So he takes her downstairs and kills her, and then he comes back upstairs and writes the ransom note, or does he write it first?
I guess. Oh, could be either, couldn't it? I would guess he wrote it afterwards. I think he had plenty of time.
Yeah. So it was rewritten 3 times. Why he spent that much time after he killed her in the house just writing a ransom note?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean.
So so Edwards kills her.
Maybe he took that pad downstairs and did it down in the down in the basement where he'd unlikely to be discovered. I think he would have been able to exit that basement, wouldn't he, if it wasn't a window or something, if he needed to.
Chill out here and write this ransom note 3 times till I get it right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I mean, that's one thing you've got to ask yourself. Would Patty Ramsey have been writing this strange ransom note?
Yes, but she would have plenty of time.
The references and God knows what. It's inconceivable.
She would have time. I mean, it's inconceivable that somebody's going to break in their house, or it could be in their house, and then spend time after they killed her. But okay, why did he write a ransom note if he killed the little girl?
Why did he write the ransom note? To put suspicion on the family. To put suspicion on the family, for sure. Because it worked. Everyone was suspecting the family.
Even without the ransom note, the family still would have been suspected. If you find a dead kid in the parents' house, they're going to be
Edwards loved to write anonymous notes. I mean, this is absolutely characteristic of him. He wrote anonymous notes the whole time. And this note's probably got all sorts of clues in it that we can't understand. I mean, like the 118,000. I bet that's a clue about something that we don't.
That was John Ramsey's Christmas bonus to the penny.
I mean, it's showing he knows what his Christmas bonus was. I suppose that's a sort of threat, isn't it? I know everything about you, isn't it? That's kind of.
I would be asking for a lot more money than that. You're trying to cripple his business, you kill his kid, and you're only asking for $118,000.
I can give you a bit more information on that because Edwards later explained something about that. He wrote a letter much later on to journalism professor Michael Tracy, who got an anonymous email on November the 23rd, 2003. Okay, yes. And it was using the name DE-. It was like December 25, 1996 was the name, but he put a hyphen after the DE. Okay, so he emphasized DE, and DE backwards is Ed. Okay, and what the notes, how the note starts is, who is to say that note might not have been followed by other notes had I taken JonBenet with me that night? So think about that.
So that note said that?
Do you want me to screen share that?
No. That's no. Is that what that note said? I'm just want to make sure I understand you. That note said.
The note starts, who is to say that note might not have been followed by other notes had I taken JonBenét with me that night?
Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. I thought, no, I'm sorry. I thought that's what you were saying. I didn't know that's what was on the letter. Okay. So the 911 call's made. Burke is heard in the background. The police show up. Now, this is, I can't remember the exact time. It's still early in the morning. I don't think the sun was up. Patsy goes to the door and she is in full regalia. She's got her makeup on, her hair done, and everything to meet the cops. Why do you get made up to meet the police?
You'd have to ask her that, wouldn't you?
I mean, but what would you think it is, though? Why would you put all your makeup on?
Well, I presume she'd put all that on before she realised that JonBenét was missing. I don't know. You'd have to ask her.
3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I
don't think it was that time in the morning that the police were called. Hold on. Oh well, it was quite early. It was 5:52. It was 10 to 6. Well, she was up fairly early. Yeah.
That's still pretty early though to put on makeup. I couldn't remember the exact time. All right. So John had already searched the house, right?
No, they hadn't searched the house at that point.
John Ramsey had already searched the house and said he didn't find anything. Then John Ramsey goes back.
Oh, sorry, you're right. Yeah, he did do a brief search and he didn't find.
He walks into the where they do the washing machine and the lights are off.
A door with a wooden latch, wasn't there? Yeah.
And the lights are off, and he opens the door, and oh my God, and runs over there and magically finds the girl. Intuition.
I mean, that wasn't till 1 p.m. So that was 7 hours later, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And they had already had, the police didn't actually secure the whole house. They'd had everyone in the house by that time.
Mm-hmm.
Friends, victim advocates, Ramley family's minister, they all arrived into the home, and visitors were, in the kitchen. Everything was going on. There was no secural of the house as a crime scene.
John finds her, though. Why didn't he find her earlier? The body was hid behind like a washing machine.
Yeah, apparently. I mean, yeah, I mean,
the lights were off. He opens the door. I mean, oh my God, there's something.
The police had sort of done a brief search of the house because it says John opened the latch door, which Officer French had overlooked, and found his daughter's body in one of the rooms. So, they hadn't done a thorough search.
That sounds to me like John knew where she was at.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
I said, the way it sounds to me is John kind of knew where she was at, the way he kind of opened the door and.
Well, no, it was doing another search of the house that was ordered at that time.
Okay.
And it was, but by that time it was a bit late because the house had never been sealed off and everything. So the police totally bungled the investigation. There's no doubt about that.
I would agree with you that the police bungled the investigation. They were not equipped to handle something like that. I think there had only been like 1 or 2 murders in that city in the past.
I mean, the police officer explained he was looking for an exit route by the kidnapper.
Yeah.
And the body was somewhat concealed.
All right, so let's go back to something else here. So Edwards lured her downstairs. Now, there was no forced entry into the house. There was no footprints leading into the house or away. How did he get in?
Maybe he got JonBenét to let him in.
What did he do? Text her? I mean, how did he get her to come downstairs from the 3rd floor and let him in there?
Probably he could have shone his flashlight up and said, Father Christmas, I've got another present for you.
How did you know where her bedroom was at?
Like 6 years old, wasn't she? She's pretty easy to manipulate.
So he finds her, but there's no footprints in the snow, so we can rule that out. Because there was no footprints leading anywhere around so we can rule out that he shined a flashlight up there.
Well, they must have come in through the front door originally, wouldn't they? You're getting into crime scene details that as I said, I don't know.
But there was no
that well.
There was no forced entry, so he would have to be either let in or he would have to have access.
He may have had access, like he may have been there before and got a key or whatever. I don't know.
So he showed up and got a key, and
he had a way of getting in.
So, but he just got a key from.
I was under the impression there was some sort of basement window that was.
There was a basement window, but it was broken from the inside out. So there was no, and there was also dust.
Is it possibly exited that way?
No, the window was broken. Not from. It would have been broken for him to get in. There was also dust and other particles that was there on the windowsill that showed that nobody had went away. And there was also no footprints that was leading away. So there was nobody exited there. The maid had also testified that window had been broken for several months.
Right. He could have got in earlier, though, couldn't he, and been waiting. I don't believe he did, though, because what I know about Edwards is he was with his family for Christmas Day.
What I want to know is how did he get in the Ramsey's house?
I don't know, but I think he either had a key or he got JonBenét to let him in.
Okay, well, the only way he's going to be able to get JonBenét in is ringing the doorbell, because we've already ruled that he couldn't get to the window.
He could have shone the flashlight up to her bedroom window, couldn't he? And said
no. He couldn't have, because there was no footprints that was leading anywhere in the snow around the house, so that's ruled out.
You don't have to be anywhere near the house to shine a flashlight.
Well, to get to her bedroom window, you're gonna have to get. I mean, you're gonna have to get around the house to get her to the flashlight.
I think he called to her, and attracted her attention somehow. Shone the flashlight, got her attention, and got her to let him in. Probably. I mean, we can only guess. Someone got in that house. And
there's no footprints, but just even to play devil's advocate there for a minute, he shines a flashlight.
Are you saying every approach to the house was covered in snow?
Yes. There was no forced entry. There was no footprints that was leading anywhere away around the house.
When did it snow?
The time of the day, I don't know.
Okay, well, that would be a bit crucial, wouldn't it? Because, I mean, did the snow come down after it had all happened? Or
I'm not sure how long the snow had been on the ground or how many days it had been snowing.
Like I said, there are forensic details that I do not know about the scene. But you haven't actually let me tell you why it was Edwards that did it yet. Okay. I mean, I've given you a few clues, haven't I?
Okay, go ahead. But I got one question though. Let's just say that Edwards does have a key. What does he do? He just waits up under her bed for 8, 10, 12 hours until the Ramseys come back?
Well, he was with his family Christmas Day. We know that.
Okay. And
it's half an hour's drive away. So I think he waits till the end of Christmas Day, round about the time his family have all gone to bed. Or he makes an excuse. He's saying, I'm going off to bed. And what he actually does is he goes out to his car and drives to the Ramsey's house. Let's say...
let's just say he has a key.
Say sometime after midnight, something like that.
Okay. And let's just say he does have a key. So he goes up, unlocks the door, walks through the Ramsey's house, past Pat and John's bedroom. Burke's bedroom's over here. Goes into JonBenét's bedroom and lures her downstairs to get some pineapple and a Christmas present. Right? That's the theory.
Yep, something like that.
Okay. All right. Now tell me why he killed her. Or are you just fixed to tell me? I'm sorry. You just fixed to tell me something else. Did
you say tell me why he killed her?
No. What was you was fixing to tell me something? And I said something else. I don't know if you was telling me how or why, or I cut you off. I'm sorry.
I believe the whole idea was to put suspicion on the family. That's what Edwards was doing. that's why you've got this strange ransom note that looks like it was written by Patsy, on a superficial level.
Okay.
That's why he made her eat pineapple, because
he made her eat
when
pineapple?
when police questioned the family, they were going to say, no, we just got home, she didn't have any pineapple to eat, and that would make them look like liars, wouldn't it?
So Edwards gets in the house, gets her to come downstairs, makes her eat pineapple, so that the Ramseys would lie about when she ate pineapple to make them look like liars.
Yeah.
I mean, they're already going to look like murderers. I think eating pineapple would be the last thing that they would be worried about. I mean, they got a lot bigger problems on their hands than that. I mean, they're already going to be under suspicion when you find a dead kid in the parents' house in Colorado.
Don't you think it was kind of all incredibly suspicious that they said, she hadn't eaten pineapple? Because,
the pineapple thing to me has never really been.
I think that's the major clue in the case. Because why would the parents lie about her having pineapple? Why wouldn't they say if she had eaten pineapple? Why would the parents be lying about it? There's no reason
to cover up a murder.
Well, no, because it wouldn't be covering up; it would be putting suspicion on themselves.
I mean, you already got suspicion on yourself.
No, but you wouldn't if she had eaten pineapple and they knew she'd eaten pineapple, they would have said, we got back and JonBenét ate some pineapple, or they would have explained that somehow, wouldn't they? They wouldn't have said no, she didn't eat any pineapple.
Well, I mean, somebody, I mean, of course not. A murderer's not going to lie, would they?
Well, the murderer's not going to lie when they don't need to.
I mean, they're not ever
only going to lie because they've got a reason to. Why would
somebody murdered would never lie, right?
I'm not saying they never lie. I'm saying they never lie unless there's a good reason.
It could have been that they just totally slipped their mind as they was getting their stories together. They may not have known that they was going to be able to put the pineapple back to this time right here in the hour of death at this time. I doubt the Ramseys was thinking about that was pineapples in her stomach.
If you think about how criminals act, there's no way if the parents had known that she'd eaten pineapple and they'd given her the pineapple, there is no reason at all they would lie about that, whether they're guilty or innocent. So it had to be an intruder that gave her that pineapple. That's why that's such a big clue. If you think that through.
I thought about this a bunch of times. I mean, I think that
there's no way. I mean, you suddenly, when you really think about that's the key to an Edwards case.
Is an intruder getting in and getting her downstairs without making a noise, without waking the Ramseys up.
Well, Edwards was very stealthy and very cunning. I mean, if the family had woken up, he would have just killed them all. But but he was stealthy. That's exactly what he could do. I mean,
JonBenét. Oh, hey, Santa.
He killed so many people. I mean, it's possible. Yeah. I mean, who knows? Okay. I mean, he must have got her to eat the pineapple, so she couldn't have been killed before.
She
couldn't have been killed and strangled immediately upstairs.
So he gains access to the house, gets JonBenét, gets her downstairs, makes her eat pineapple, bashes her in the head, takes her downstairs, strangles her, while at the same time sexually assaulting her, writes a ransom note 3 times, places it at the stairs, and leaves. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. I think that's roughly how it must have been done. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
mean, like I said, I've never really looked through all the forensic evidence in this case in that much detail. So, if there's something that's wrong with a theory, then you might know.
He enters the house. He's had access somehow. Goes to her room. Gets her downstairs without waking anybody up. Forces her to eat pineapple. Bashes her in the head. Takes her downstairs. Strangles her while sexually assaulting her. Then writes and rewrites a ransom note 3 times and then exits the house. That's how it happened, or roughly
Yeah, I sometimes wonder if he could have pre-written that ransom note, but it was on the family notepaper. But do they know that notepad never went missing?
Well, it was rewritten 3 times.
Yeah, but do they know the pad was in the house all day on Christmas Day?
Um, I don't think I that they investigated if somebody broke in and took the notepad and went and wrote 3 different ransom notes. It doesn't say on the Wikipedia it was rewritten 3 times. I mean, I want to make sure I'm not getting the
I must admit,
facts.
I've never heard it was rewritten three times, but I'll take
Yeah.
your word for that.
No, I don't want to
Does
say
it say it
something
was
wrong.
rewritten ransom? Oh, let me look at the ransom note in
Yeah, look
Wikipedia.
it up real quick because I don't want to say something that's not true. Somehow I had it in my
You
mind that it
found
was re. Huh.
I don't see. Oh, oh, the note and a practice draft were written with a pen and notepad from the Ramsey home.
Okay, so it was just twice then.
Yeah, I can only see
Okay.
it was
Okay.
written twice. There was a
Okay.
draft and a final version, apparently.
Okay. All right. Then I apologize for saying it was 3 times. I don't want to mislead anybody.
I mean,
Um,
that's an interesting thing. I mean, I'm surprised Edwards would have to write it twice, to be honest, because he would normally get things perfect first time. But okay, for some reason, he wasn't quite happy with his first version. That's pretty strange.
okay. Again, I'm sorry. I was not trying to mislead on that when I said 3 times. I don't know where I got that. But I knew it was
No,
rewritten.
sure. I mean, I didn't even know there was a draft, but I'm reading here. There was a note and a practice draft. That's what I'm reading.
So Edwards did this to frame the Ramseys because of a family member's competing business with John. Correct?
I believe that was a possible motive. Yeah, I think it was to just put so much pressure on John Ramsey that his business would suffer because he wouldn't be able to, spend time on it.
Why don't you just kill John Ramsey?
If he just killed John Ramsey, someone would have inherited that business and would run it, could run it normally.
Who? His kids lived in Atlanta. Patsy didn't know anything about it.
It would probably be sold, wouldn't it, in that event?
Why couldn't they? And then he could have just brother could have bought it.
I think the motive was to cripple the business, not to kill John Ramsey and have someone else take it over and it go on to be a successful business. Well, I think it was a business competitor. Do you see what I mean? Talking about?
Yeah, I see. You just wanted to cripple John's business.
That's a possible motive in Scott Peterson as well. Maybe they didn't want to, they didn't want to kill Scott, which they could have easily done. Instead, they cripple him because he's under so much suspicion. He was, the media were following him around. His life was made hell. It was made impossible, and then he gets arrested.
We had Scott. So
that's how to destroy a business. If you want to destroy a business, you kind of cripple the person who's doing it. You don't kill them. It kind of makes sense if that's a motive.
Well, I mean, he left Boulder right after that, not too long, and I think moved back to Atlanta. When did he get rid of the business again?
I mean, it must have affected John and Patty quite a lot.
Well, I'm sure it did. The grand jury
suspicion they were under, they actually hired private investigators, didn't they, and things
I think so.
to try and clear their own name.
And they also refused to separate. During a murder investigation, the first thing you do is you get the husband and wife apart. And they wasn't wanting to be questioned separately. They immediately lawyered up.
I mean, yeah, did they lawyer up?
They lawyered up, yeah.
If so, that was a very good move.
Yeah, I agree with you. People get hammered for that. I would have lawyered up too. The grand jury voted to indict.
I know. Yeah.
And So you've got two indictments there that Alex Hunter did not follow through with.
Yeah. And of course, later on, they've found this DNA on JonBenet Ramsey's body that's unidentified.
They found some touch DNA that I think came in some underclothing she was wearing. But touch DNA can be passed off just by handling something. That doesn't.
It could. You're right. That DNA may not have been the killer's.
Yeah,
true.
So that doesn't, prove or disprove that.
I do not believe these parents would have killed their child in this manner, with a garrote, with a sexual assault, staging a 3-page ransom note. This is all fantasy.
How would a parent kill their kid?
Sorry?
You said you didn't believe that, the Ramseys would do it in this way. Well, how does a parent usually do it? I mean, I don't know what happened in that house that night.
If you've got a case, for one thing, you would see leakage. You would see kind of, it just didn't make any sense. There was no motive for the parents, was there? I mean,
no, there was no motive. I mean, now I've always thought that the bedwetting theory was ridiculous. That Patsy had lost her temper.
They doted on that child. They were running around turning into a beauty queen and all this stuff, weren't they?
I never thought the bedwetting theory held weight, and still not convinced that John Ramsey molested her either.
I don't believe there's any evidence of that at all.
Well, there was two doctors that gave conflicting statements about there being some sexual assault. One said yes, one said no. If it was done, I don't believe it was done I don't believe John Ramsey molested his daughter, because he had two other daughters and they had never had any kind of accusations of molestation. And so I don't believe that. Right. If I was the prosecutor or I was involved in this, my number one suspect would have been Bill McReynolds, for the fact that he would have had access to the house. Kid would have felt safe with him, go downstairs.
Yeah.
And his wife had written the play about this exact same murder. That's who I would have looked at the hardest.
He's an excellent suspect, and I believe that would have. I'm always telling you about how Edwards have layered suspects. So he would have his number one people he wanted to be suspects, like Scott Peterson, remember, in the Lacey Peterson case. He would have his number two people who were going to be suspects, which was the burglars in the Lacey Peterson case. And it would always be him. He would be manipulating this at multiple levels deep with multiple levels of suspects.
That's a lot of suspects right there in the Ramsey case. So he's going to have Bill McReynolds. What? I mean, is McReynolds his first suspects and the Ramseys the second?
The Ramseys would be the first suspects. Bill Reynolds would be the second.
And the third.
And then he would create such a furore because you would have dozens of suspects. I mean, how many suspects are there in this case?
Dozens?
Well, I've looked at this Rolling Stone case, and it gives eight possible suspects.
Well, and they was quickly. They were quickly.
The town drifter, the school
brother was 9 years old.
The town centre is Bill Reynolds, isn't it? Yeah.
The brother was 9 years old. He couldn't have pulled. He didn't do that. Every one of the suspects was quickly ruled out. Is possible. I mean, one of them actually.
I don't know how they ruled Bill Reynolds out.
Is it Reynolds or McReynolds?
Bill Reynolds.
I thought it was McReynolds.
Bill McReynolds. Bill McReynolds. Sorry.
Yeah, McReynolds. Yes. You did you say you don't? Now I don't think he was ever. Was he totally ruled out? He died not too long. He died of a heart attack sometime after that. I don't know how much longer it was, but he died of a heart attack.
I don't know too much about him.
Yes, he died of a heart attack.
He died of a heart attack?
That's what they said in the papers. I think he had a heart condition. He died of a heart attack. He was 72
Any
years
reason
old.
Edwards couldn't have murdered him?
Why would Edwards murder him and make it look like a heart attack?
Well, he would remain a suspect if he was dead.
Do it now?
Hmm?
Oh, he would remain a suspect. Well, I mean, within that case right there, he would still remain a suspect if he was alive. I mean, because you've really got nothing to go on inside the house as far as a murder weapon and stuff, so on and so forth. I mean, I can't recall if he was ever officially ruled out while he was alive, though. That's slipping my mind right now. Sorry.
I mean, it says here the story generated buzz in the Denver Post, but failed to amount to anything more than a centralized character assassination of a friendly old man. So maybe police did investigate and they ruled him out somehow.
I think, again, and this is just, I'm going off memory here. I know it fails me sometimes. I don't think they really gave him much of a look, or at least not as hard a look as what they should have. I just can't remember exactly how far they looked at him. I know they brought in a retired Denver police officer. It was a detective. He was the one with the intruder theory.
That's another thing. There was a police flashlight left at the scene. Did you know that?
No, I don't recall that.
Edwards was well into flashlights.
There was a flashlight that was at the scene.
The murder scene. Explain.
Where was this flashlight found?
I do not know that. See if the Wikipedia thing says it. I can read here. The group theorized that Burke hit his sister in the head with a heavy object, possibly a flashlight. So the flashlight could well be the thing that.
That's the only way that I mean, Burke was there. They broke down the 911 call, and they've separated the voices with some technology, whatever they did. I can't remember. It's hard to make out what was said. Burke was awake when Patsy made the phone call. I'm pretty sure Patsy told the police that he was still asleep when that happened.
I've got more information on the flashlight for you now. I've just Googled it. So it says Spitz, that would be Werner Spitz, the famous medical examiner, concluded that a flashlight of the same size of the one found on the Ramsey's counter, so it was found on the counter, could have been the source of Ramsey's. Hold on, I'm still trying to find the actual article. Get that flashlight could have.
When you get down, see what time. See what they said about Burke and being awake too, because I want to make sure I've got that right.
The flashlight was found on a counter in the Ramsey's kitchen. Okay, so somewhere near where that pineapple tin was found.
Okay. Does it say about not the 911 call with Burke?
I don't know about the 911 call. I was just going on about the flashlight, really, because that flashlight, I think, is pretty important too.
Look at that for me, though, right quick, about the 911 call with Burke Ramsey, because I want to make sure I'm getting this right. I think Patsy told them that Burke was still asleep, but they could hear Burke in the background.
Oh, right. Well, okay, so he wasn't asleep.
Okay, so okay, yeah. So
I don't know. I don't know. I've never heard of anything about that. So you're saying on the 911 call they could hear Burke or something?
Yes, that Burke Ramsey could be heard in the background, and he was supposed to still be asleep. And you can pull it up on.
Okay, I haven't heard of that. Whether that's true.
I mean,
so what?
I can look it up. Well, I mean, you just said a while ago, why would the Ramseys lie about the kid eating pineapple? Well, why are they going to lie about Burke being asleep if he's awake?
Well, maybe they didn't know he was awake.
maybe they didn't know she ate pineapple. Well, how are they not going to know he's awake when he's talking in the background?
Where did they say he wasn't awake? Did they just say he was up in his bed?
That's why I can't. I should have written that down. I mean, I can look.
You need to really tie that down. Like, what did the family say? Was he really heard on the 911 call? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Pull it up right there with the Wikipedia.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything about Burke.
It doesn't say anything about Burke Ramsey in the 911 call. I mean, I can go look it up.
Just talks about there was a 911 call. That's all.
It doesn't say anything about Burke Ramsey in the 911 call.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
But that flashlight, I think, is a really important clue. It's a police flashlight.
Yeah.
That's just the sort of thing Edwards would have on him.
Edwards always carried a police flashlight.
I'm just going through the evidence that points to Edwards. Right, it was on December the 25th, 1996. So when was Lacey Peterson murdered? Or when was she died? December the 24th, 2002.
Okay, so
Edwards would murder on Christmas, and other holidays. So that's another thing. And then there's also an anonymous letter sent from Shreveport, Louisiana in 1997. Did you know about that? Which was attempting to other people.
The letter sent from Louisiana, not that I recall off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, this is all in chapter 17 of John Cameron's book. I mean, that's really a lot of this. I'm relying on John Cameron. This is not my theory. That I didn't come up with this theory.
I didn't look at
this was all explained in John Cameron's book, and while I did say it was a circumstantial case, but Edwards was an inveterate person for leaving messages and writing this. I explained the sign by the cross. He used the symbolism of the cross as his signature all the time, and that victory exclamation mark sign by the cross. It's just if you look at all the things that he wrote, this is very much his style. I mean, if you look at the message from God in the Lacey Peterson case, it's pretty similar. These things, the more you study them, the more you get a feeling for it, because you start to link all these things together.
Here we go. I knew that was start here. 20 years after the 6-year-old's murder, new technology has unearthed the conversation that followed after Patsy thought she'd hung up the phone. The conversation, which appears to happen with 2 or 3 other people, has been shown in the new channel docuseries, The Case of JonBenet Ramsey.
I see. So
we're not speaking to you. A male voice, which is believed to be John Ramsey, can be heard explaining, "What did you do? Help me, Jesus." A female voice believed to be Patsy responds. "What did you find?" A child's voice thought to be Burke asked. The family has always insisted JonBenet's older brother Burke was in bed at the time of the grim discovery. Yeah, I remember that because she asked, "What did you do?"
Well, he could still be in bed, but talking, couldn't he?
Right beside her?
All right. Was this voice right close to the phone?
Close enough for it to be heard on the 911 call.
I thought you said it was after the 911 call was sort of hung up.
She thought that she had hung the 911 call up, but she had not.
The phone line was still open.
Mm-hmm. The line was still open.
How long after was it she hung up? Was this heard?
It says that she had thought, because I've listened to this many times. She thought she had hung the phone up, and it was she was hanging the phone. She thought she'd hung the phone up, and let me go back and find it again.
Seconds later or minutes later or what?
Well, it's not minutes later because she says, let's see, Patsy Ramsey, operator Kim Archuleta described her as frantic and panicked. And now modern technology has unearthed the conversation that followed after Patsy thought she had hung up the phone. We're not speaking to you. A male voice, which is believed to be John Ramsey, can be heard explaining. What did you do? Help me, Jesus. A female voice believed to be Patsy responds. What did you find? A child's voice thought to be Burke asks. So it couldn't have been that long.
How do they know it's Burke, not John Ramsey?
Because they said there's 3 people in there. They heard it talking. And I think you can tell the difference between a child's voice and a grown man's voice.
Well, it says modern technology, so it sounds like it's been enhanced or something.
Well, you could hear them when
Where was the telephone, in the kitchen or on the first floor?
I'm not sure where she made the
Right.
911 call out. But
there's too many variables in there for me to have an opinion on that. I'd have to research it all to find out where.
Well, at least listen to it, or let them listen to it, because you have to listen to it the first time and until they extract. But anyway, but yeah, I just want to.
I don't know.
So
Edwards sounds interesting, but I don't think there's.
Why did Edwards kill her with a flashlight and leave the murder weapon? I mean, he's wanting to frame the Ramseys, right?
He might have forgotten about it, I suppose, or it was deliberate. I don't know. I wouldn't like to say whether it was deliberate or not. I mean, having a police flashlight there that they would disown it was their flashlight might cast suspicion on the Ramseys. On the other hand,
Ramseys are already going to have suspicion.
Might point to an intruder, mightn't it? Who knows? It could equally point at Reynolds or another intruder. What do you think about the flashlight?
I've not given that much thought.
Well, you hadn't heard about it before, so it's a bit of an unfair question. But
and I could have just forgot about it. And
I mean, that's how these cases go. There's so much evidence in them that there can be.
I'll have to go back and think about that.
It's really important that unless you're interested in a particular angle, it doesn't really seem that significant.
Well,
but for me, Edwards was an inveterate user of flashlights. He used flashlights.
I don't have an angle in the case.
Zodiac killings, flashlights. Yeah.
I mean, when I've made where I've said the stuff talking about John and Patsy, I don't have an angle. I'm not convinced of John and Patsy's
guilt. I think Edwards left that flashlight as part of his signature. The Zodiac killer was here.
Okay.
If it was deliberate, mistake.
But I just do want that clear. I do not have an angle as far as I'm not convinced that John and Patsy's guilty, or McReynolds, or of an intruder. I'm really not sure if any of who killed her. I just want to make sure that I do not have an angle as far as guilt and innocence with the Ramseys. I mean,
we've got Edwards living half an hour away after he just killed Danny Boy and who's waiting to collect the insurance money for that. His son, I believe, was working for a business competitor.
Wait a second now. Now his son is working for the business competitor? I thought his son owned the business.
I think. Oh, I don't know. Maybe he owned the business. There was some kind of connection I've heard about there, and I don't want to go into it too much detail because I don't want to be pointing fingers at the son, and
But I gotta have some kind of. I mean,
I'm sure the son had no idea about it anyway. I mean, Edwards would have done it to help his children, but he wouldn't have told his son. I'm certainly not suggesting there was a conspiracy there. Edwards' family always knew he was dodgy because he kept on leaving places in a
dodgy shop,
asking questions, but they never turned him in till 2009 when his daughter turned him in.
So he's just going around the country killing people.
Yeah, I mean, he's killed people all over. He was a Zodiac killer. The evidence for that is enormous. Margaret actually was there and she was a witness. So
I'm sorry, who is this Margaret again?
Margaret is the most important witness. She was 18 years old and pregnant in 1971, and she'd been chucked out by her family. So she was living in, she didn't have any money. She was living in extreme poverty, and she was targeted by Edwards and the Gambinos, and they didn't quite know what to do with her. I mean, she wasn't exactly targeted. She was acting as a cover girl. You know, the mafia, they like to have women with them when they're going around because it makes them look a little bit less suspicious. So, you know,
having a woman makes you look less suspicious.
Well, they had would have looked like John Gotti had a young girlfriend. Yeah.
What does that having what does having a girlfriend have to do with making somebody look suspicious or not?
Well, you've got a group of men going around on their own. That looks pretty suspicious.
So
if you've got a couple of women in with them, it makes.
But one woman going around with a group. Why? Okay. Why does a group
mafia?
Huh?
You need to research what cover girl means in the mafia.
First of all, I'm going back to a group of guys going around. 4 guys going. That makes you look suspicious, but having 4 guys and a girl doesn't.
Yeah, they would have had girls with them. It makes them look less suspicious. That's why they do it.
So all right. So all of them had a girl, or they had one girl.
I think. I don't know if they had other girls. A good question, actually. I'll ask her that. Were there any other girls? I mean, there was another older woman called Lucy. She was older though. I don't know. I mean, they were killing other girls probably because they were using them as cover girls, and when they were finished with them, they would kill them.
Okay. So, how do they tie? How are these girls right here tying into do they tie into the Ramsey case at all?
It all ties into Edwards.
Okay.
Edwards. This learning about Edwards, it's taken me about 5 years, and I'm still learning new things almost every day.
Okay, all right.
I mean, it's like a huge subject because he's committed hundreds and hundreds of murders.
Hundreds and hundreds now. Now, last night you told me he had committed like 20, and now it's hundreds and hundreds of murders.
I mean, we don't know about them all. You know, there's no way we've tracked down all his murders.
Bundy. He only killed like 40-something people. I mean, I'll say only, but
yeah,
I mean,
Bundy didn't kill very many people.
Well, I mean, that's still quite a bit. But anyway, we're getting way off subject. Back to the Ramseys.
We're not really off subject.
Well, but I want to say,
to understand why Edwards killed John Bonet, you have to understand Edwards in enormous detail.
But I don't. But I'll tell you what, we'll do a whole segment one night just on Edwards because I can't.
Oh, sorry.
We'll have to do a segment one night where we can do just on Edwards because you said I have to understand him to understand why he killed John Bonet.
You wouldn't cover Edwards in a single day. You could talk about him for about 20 episodes, and you'd still only touch the surface.
We'll do several episodes of him one night then.
I mean, you can do what? Yeah, I mean, sure. We can talk more about Edwards.
Sounds like
I've been looking. There's an enormous website that I've made. I mean, that's not enormous, but it's got at least 50 to 60 pages on Edwards, and even that's just a summary. You know, you want the details. You want to look at John Cameron's books.
Okay. So
and John Cameron's books are not entirely up to date because we've discovered a lot more since they were published. So there's a lot.
The motive was he killed John Bonet, wrote a ransom note, left a flashlight to put suspicion on the parents, to cripple business. I don't know.
I think that the flashlight was more his signature. I don't think.
Okay, or left it.
I think that was neutral regarding the parents, but it would look strange. They would have this flashlight would be there, which couldn't be explained. But
to cripple a business, he did this to cripple a business.
Yeah,
that's okay.
I believe that would be a possible motive in this case, to cripple John's business.
Is there any other motives that he would have?
Edwards liked killing people. He's on, his ex-wife said that he liked killing people, so he liked killing people, especially on Christmas.
So he just picked out this little girl and said, "I'm gonna go kill her Christmas night."
He would have been researching the Ramseys for a long time.
Years.
I said he would have researched Scott Peterson. He would have been researching the Ramseys.
So probably since the time that John Bonet was born, he was researching her, right?
Oh, I'm not saying since she was born. She was 6 years.
It's only 6 years.
I think he would have certainly been researching John Ramsay for at least a month or two, and probably longer. So he would set it all up. He would choose Christmas as the day to be done.
Okay, but he just would randomly choose. So he just randomly chose John then. And
he would probably have bugged their home.
But he just chose him randomly though.
No, I think in this case he chose John because of the business he was running.
So he did choose John because, well, a while ago you said a possible motive. So now that is the motive?
No, it's a possible. It's a possible.
Well, it's possible or it is?
It's possible. I think that's the most likely motive I know of. But I mean, he killed another beauty queen, Irene Garza. Did I tell you about that?
No, I'm not familiar with that one. But
he liked killing people. He needed. I think he was addicted to killing people. So he would, not all his murders didn't have any motive. He would have some side reason he wanted to achieve with his. We're going to
set up a series for him, so I can know about him.
I mean, we know he killed Irene Garza because he confessed to that one, and he explained that to Margaret.
Okay. I think we've covered the Ramsays murder.
Yeah. We're starting to get on to the background of Edwards. And like I said,
we'll save that one because we're like an hour and a half into this. And
yeah, these little clues he killed John Burnell. I'm pretty convinced it was him. But there's nothing there's no DNA or anything. There's no 100% proof.
Okay.
And also, it's possible he used someone else to do it and he set it up, but he didn't do it himself personally. That's another possibility. We don't know, in that level of detail, because he would sometimes use others to do his killing. So,
like I did last night, and I always do it then, convict somebody of this murder besides Edwards, whether it be somebody in the house, McReynolds. Who would you go after?
I mean, I think McReynolds would be the most logical suspect, other than Edwards, I can come up with. But I don't
because of what he said.
I suspect he was ruled out by police for some reason. I don't.
Okay, but
I don't know if he was investigated.
Well, he would be my. I mean, he would be my. That would be my top suspect too. Would be McReynolds. I mean, if I was going to go after it. I mean, just for the simple fact of what he told her. And
do you know if he was investigated?
I don't think that they looked that hard into him. And I think he died relatively quickly after that. I can't remember if it was a year or two or if it was long.
Edwards killed him as well.
Well, I don't know about all that, but
he would give him some medication to give him a heart attack or something like that. It's pretty easy.
Medication to give him a heart attack. Why not just shoot him in the head? Or let me see, because I want to say he died. Let's make sure I get this right, because I don't like to give any kind of false information when I do that. He died. Well, where was he at? Well, what? Hold up. Where's this? It's not giving me the year.
I'm just speculating there, but
I've got. I need to find out when he died.
That's something I would look into. Did he have a long history of heart disease, or did it come out of the blue? If it came out of the blue and he was alone and it was all a little bit suspicious, then I would definitely investigate that. I'm not saying he didn't die of heart disease naturally. It could have been. I've never looked into that.
I can't tell you exactly how long he had heart problems, but I mean, people have had, dropped out of heart attacks, on the spot. He
was in his 60s, was it? It could be completely natural.
He was 72 when it happened.
Who was age 72?
Yeah, he was 72. He was 72 when he died.
Do you have a criminal record or anything?
Not that I know of. I don't think he did. I just, I can't find out where the year that it says he dies. I thought that.
I'm going to look at this Devonshire Post article because that's about Bill McReynolds.
Yeah, that's what I thought I had too, and I couldn't find the date on it. 19. Well.
Oh, there's something about he had heart surgery. I'm reading here. Oh damn! I was just reading it, and then the bloody pop-up ad comes up, and it wants me to provide an email address to continue reading free articles. So, sorry, the Denver Post article. I'm not going to pay money to read about Bill.
I've got to find this. Come on, show me what you.
But it does say something about
McReynolds died in 2002.
Sorry.
He died in 2002.
Oh, well, that's quite a little while after.
The police investigated individuals. Let's see. Though the parents were questioned, they maintained their innocence. And in 2008, were officially cleared of any involvement in the murder. Were never the only people investigated. They did investigate McReynolds. Okay. George, is there anything you want to add to this segment for tonight?
No, I just want to emphasise that if Patty didn't write the ransom note, then that clears the entire family.
Okay.
So, I'm sure. I mean, there's been so much speculation on this case. There's no wrongful conviction at stake. That's why I'm not that interested in it. I believe 80% it was Edwards at least, because it fits so well. It just so typical of his style. He was living nearby. He killed other beauty queens. He was an absolute psychopath. He strangled people with garrotes. There's all these mysterious anonymous messages around the case, including the ransom note. I believe he wrote that ransom note. And, I'm at least 90% it was him.
Whoever wrote the ransom note knew the Ramseys because they knew his...
or they'd stalked the Ramseys. And Edwards was a stalker.
Well, I mean, you're going to have to know his Christmas bonus.
He would have stalked the business. He would have known absolutely everything about John Ramsey. He would have known absolutely everything about Bill Reynolds. He would have known absolutely everything that was going on in that town.
And that's some more of a man right there to have that kind of memory to know all of that.
And he wrote this Zodiac Killer ransom note, and he left the flashlight. It all points at him, but it's circumstantial.
I'm trying to find.
The other thing I haven't checked is, did he tell Margaret about it? Because
who is Margaret? Okay. Let's we'll do that whole segment one night. That one because we're too far into this one. George, is there anything you want to add to it other than
no, that's fine. Let's finish for tonight. I'll let you get off and have your sleep, and we'll talk some other time maybe.
Enjoyed it, George. And we'll talk soon.
You're really welcome. Cheers. That was great.
Thank you. Now I'll stop.